super excited to have on our show our first guest of the evening. It is breast cancer survivor Iris is in the house. How are you doing, Iris?
Hi, April. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Awesome, fantastic. I love your shirt. You have to like, can you? Yeah, there you go. So it's the
Oh.
Wonder Woman with the breast cancer awareness ribbon. You are so, that is perfect. That is perfect
Thank
for
you.
tonight, for sure, for sure. So Iris and I got a chance to talk a little bit last night. You guys, I mentioned earlier, she is from our Survivors Rock, a breast cancer can stick it community group. So I've noticed that you're active in that group a lot. Thank you for being a part of that. It's so great to share experiences with one another and help each other out. So I know how important that is.
Thank you for the group.
Absolutely, absolutely. Looking to grow
Thank
that. So
you.
if you're a breast cancer survivor out there, be sure to join. So as usual, the way we like to start the show with a survivor guest is to kind of talk through how you first learned that you had breast cancer. So, can you tell me what led up to that moment, Iris?
Well, let's see, long story short, I took care of my mother for 9 years, off and on with Alzheimer's disease while she was in that journey. And I didn't really take care of myself then because I was busy taking care of her. So shortly after she died, like 2.5 months or so, I hadn't had any mammograms at all after I turned 40. None, not a one, because I'd been so busy taking care of her that when I finally got around to having one at 48, I think it was 48, no, 47. I was still 47, I think. Yeah, I was still 47. I finally got a mammogram at 47, and it actually took a long time to get to the point where I got my diagnostic mammogram, like 6 months. 6 months, because my primary care doctor at the time, the PA, didn't believe there was anything wrong, even though I told her the opposite a lot, all the time for 6 months. And she just didn't believe me. So, which is weird, was totally weird. So I finally, after 6 months, fired her and got a new primary care doctor because that's what you do. And then the day before I saw that new doctor, I went to Solus and said, I need to order a mammogram from my primary care doctor who I have not yet met. Can you give me the paperwork so I can have her place the order tomorrow?
Well, Iris, if I could interrupt, and I told you I might do this, so my apologies in advance. But
Very good.
so was there at 47 when you went back to get your first mammogram? Was there any issue you were aware of, or what was driving you to kind of push for this at this moment in time?
Oh, I was in horrendous pain. There were changes in the shape of my left breast on the underside. It was ghastly, horribly painful. And it started as intermittent twinging pain in like June. And I thought, oh, that's odd. I had a big scar there from surgery and I was a baby. And so I thought that's odd that an old scar would start hurting after 47 years. But I didn't think that much of it because the primary care person said, oh, well, sometimes old scars just hurt. And I thought that's really doesn't seem legit, but okay. So that was June. By August, I was telling her, yeah, I don't think this is a thing, this scar thing, because really, and the pain was worse. The shape was changing. And she kept telling me, no, it's fine. And she said, here, use scar strips. It'll make it better. And so I tried that for a little while. And then the angry round lesion appeared below my nipple. And she
Can
said,
you
oh, that's a skin infection.
can you describe what that lesion looked like that
Yes,
you saw?
it was like the size of a dime or so, and it was dark and scaly and like angry red. First it started as what looked like eczema, I would say. But by the time I finally got my diagnostic mammogram in December, it was angry and red and really rough to the touch, like alien skin or something out of Star Trek. It was not pretty and painful. And yeah, so this angry red spot.
Yeah, I think it's worth
Um,
pointing out because we talked to a lot of people on the show, and most people don't have their breast cancer represent this way. Most people have a lump,
mhm.
and so it's really important to point out that that's not how it presented to you. It was actual a
Yeah.
visual
Oh,
a
yeah.
visual something,
Mhm.
and so that's really
Yeah, it
important for
was
people to know.
through. Yes, it was through to the skin. That was actually the tumor that I was seeing. I didn't know that at the
Wow.
time, but that was the tumor saying, "Hello, I'm
Yeah.
here,"
Yeah.
which is
And
not
it
what you
was
want.
and it was painful, which is also another thing that's kind of a
So
misnomer.
painful.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
a lot of people say it's the silent killer or what have you,
Hmm.
and a lot of times, yeah, there
Right.
isn't any pain, and a lot of times there isn't anything visible,
Oh my.
but there are
Yeah.
times where it's the other way around, right?
Or it's both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I had all of that and my nipple became inverted. It was so inverted that I couldn't see it anymore when I looked down on that side. It's like it was
Oh my
gone.
gosh, wow.
It was completely flattened against my chest and like sucked in. Like there was no nipple there. It was really, really, really weird.
Yeah.
Um, and that it was like that the nipple had to that degree by mid-October or like November-ish. And the pain kept getting worse and worse. And by the time I fired that primary care doctor and finally got a new one and got my diagnostic mammogram and all the stuff, um, it was so painful that I wasn't sleeping at all anymore. Like, and particularly painful at night, which was a weird thing. During the day, it wasn't so bad. If I was up doing things, exercising, whatever, not as much pain. But at night, when I would try to sleep, if I tried to lay down, it was like the pain became about 100 times worse. And I have a high level threshold for pain, but this was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. And it was just, yeah, unreal. And I had friends who people I knew who had experienced breast cancer, and they said, "Well, that it can't be that because you're having pain, and breast cancer never has pain. So you don't need to go get a diagnostic. It's fine. It's not that.
Yikes, yeah. It
It can't be that."
Yeah. And just
Yeah.
so that folks know that are watching, sometimes Irish, your connection is a little jumping in and out, so your vocal is a little choppy, but it
Okay.
comes and it goes really fast, so don't worry about it. We're still getting the gist
Okay.
of your story, and I just wanted people to know that I was aware, because sometimes people will be like, "Hey, blah blah blah," and so
Yeah.
we're
Okay.
aware, but we're at the mercy of the magical interwebs. But yeah, I think this is really important for people to know, because it's just kind of a misunderstanding that people have, that it's only going to present a certain way. And so it's really
Hmm.
good to know that, well, not good to know, but it's nice to have the experience to be able to share this with people, so that they understand that there are multiple things to
Hmm.
look for, be concerned about with
Yeah.
breast
Yeah.
cancer.
There's so many things, and mine did have a lump as well, but it started in that scar, so I didn't know. So I thought, well, that scar seems a little more odd than
Yeah.
usual. But because scar tissue is hard anyway, it hid really well in the scar for a long time. And I didn't notice because scar tissue was already, different.
Right,
And
right.
so I just didn't notice until it started being painful and then more painful. And, when the pain was escalating, I thought something is really not right
Yeah.
here.
So
Um,
you finally were able to get that diagnostic mammogram, and how long was it after that mammogram, the diagnostic mammogram? Did you have a biopsy, or when were they able to say you
I
have breast
had
cancer?
Yeah, it was 8 days later. I had a biopsy exactly a week after the diagnostic with ultrasound, which I requested both just to be sure, and I think both the biopsy well, yeah, both the mammogram and ultrasound and the biopsy were on Wednesdays, and Thursday morning, they told me it could take up to a week to get results. The very next morning, not even 12 hours later, they called me from Solus and said the results were not what we hoped, and you have grade 3 invasive ductal carcinoma. And we've called your primary care doctor, and she'll take it from here. And yeah, no, not what we were hoping, definitely. But
Wow.
I
And
wasn't
so,
surprised.
yeah,
I was just, I was like, well, at least now I finally have an answer, but I wasn't surprised at all because I thought, what
yeah.
else could possibly be torturing me like this?
Right, right. And for those watching, high grade is worse. You would prefer a lower grade of
Mhm.
breast cancer. So high grade 3, that's actually what I had too. Iris was a grade
Oh,
3,
wow.
but mine
Yeah.
was mine was stage 1. Did they stage you at that time, or at what point did you get
They
staged?
staged me about 2 weeks later with the first oncologist I went to see in stage 3 because of the time of the skin, meant that it was stage 3 at that point. So, and then she told me that's the tumor you're seeing and feeling on your skin. And I said, oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that's another thing
That's,
that's interesting is normally when you see some changes visually, especially like red or any kind of visual changes, a lot of times it's inflammatory breast cancer, but in this case, it was not inflammatory, correct?
yeah, no, right. Yeah, it's garden variety invasive ductal carcinoma
Just
from
had
what they
gone
told me. Yeah,
crazy. And so
it,
again,
yeah,
when they did finally stage you, what was the stage?
3 at first.
Huh. And so what happened next after you met the oncologist and they staged you? What was the
She
first thing you had to
staged
do?
me. The next thing I had to do was see a breast cancer surgeon. And to make that story brief, we didn't see eye to eye. So I found a different surgeon who I love and I still love. And because she told me a really wise piece of advice, which I'm happy to share with everybody. She said, if when you have a cancer diagnosis, please find as many of your doctors as possible, as close to home as possible, because this treatment and this experience is extraordinarily stressful and hard on your body. You don't want to add more stress by commuting to somewhere else for treatment unless if you can avoid it. So she advised me to try to find doctors as close to home as possible. She's here in town where I am, so that worked for her. And my plastic surgeon's also here in town. But that was a great thing to tell me, I felt. And it was helpful. Unfortunately, the oncologist she recommended next, because that first one told me back and she told me it was stage 3. She said, now we don't aim for remission here. Some people get that some places, I guess, but we don't aim for that here. We aim for helping you keep this as active disease, as a chronic illness. We aim to keep it as a chronic illness for you for the rest of your life.
Whoa.
And I said, wow,
that doesn't yeah, it sounds like that sounds like hospital hopeless.
I said, wow, that's the worst sales pitch I've ever heard.
Yeah, I mean, normally I hear people say, I've heard doctors say, we don't shoot for remission, we shoot for, we want to cure you, even though there's not a cure for breast cancer.
Right.
There are enough tools in their toolbox that
Yeah.
oftentimes caught early enough, they are able to kind of cure you.
Yeah.
That was a very hopeful message. So you
It was,
you left that oncologist, is that right?
yes, I
Yeah.
told her that I was going to seek a doctor who was going to help me get to remission. I said, just because you don't believe it's possible doesn't mean I don't.
True. That's true. So
Yeah.
the next person you went to, I assume, believed in that. And what was your first course of treatment?
Well, the next person I went to believed in it a lot less, and I fired him instantly. But the third time's the charm, he helped me out. And my first course of treatment was removing my ovaries and fallopian tubes because mine is hormone positive, ER and PR. So estrogen and progesterone positive. So first thing was remove
Now,
tubes and yeah.
let me ask you. I know lots of people who are hormone positive that that don't go for that type of treatment. Was there something different about yours that made them feel that this was important? I know that people who are BRCA positive, a lot of times they might recommend that. But what made your case one where they were like, we got to do this also?
By the time I found the third oncologist, it was stage 4 in my lymph nodes.
Gotcha.
That's why.
Yep. Good. Very good point, Iris. You'd have an answer.
Yeah. I thought it was I thought it was a great answer from him at the time. It's like, yeah, let's do this.
Gosh, stage 4. Okay, so from the moment that you
Yeah.
the moment you first started seeking help with this problem, when you first started going for a mammogram, and to the point in which you had this surgery to remove your ovaries, remove your uterus, so essentially hysterectomy, right? You had a hysterectomy?
No, they left the uterus for, I don't know why they left the uterus, but I still have it.
Okay, well, good to know.
It's kind of weird. But yeah.
So how long was that whole time period?
Actually, they told me they left
There's yep.
because they wanted me to be able to start chemo sooner,
Uh-huh.
and the laparoscopic surgery would be a much faster recovery. That's why they left the uterus in. So we did that on like a Friday, and Sunday I did my first round of chemo,
Okay,
but
so
without steroids because I can't have steroids.
right.
So
So what was the
yeah.
time lapse between the time you first tried to get the mammogram to the surgery again?
The first mammogram, it was August to February, so 6
Okay.
months.
Okay, gotcha. And when they did the surgery for the ovaries, did you say that they also did a mastectomy at that point?
No, that was later.
Okay.
The first surgeon who I didn't get along with wanted to do that immediately, but my new surgeon who'd been doing it for 30 years and wasn't fresh out of medical school told me
Uh,
that the other surgeon would never have gotten clean lines. She said, your tumor is so close to your chest wall and so large that if you did that surgery right now, you would still have lots of evidence of disease
right.
after the surgery. She said,
Gotcha.
what you need is chemo to shrink that tumor and then take it out later.
Gotcha. So how many months of chemo did you do at that point?
I did 6 rounds of chemo from March through June.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
And then did you have radiation also?
I didn't have radiation until after my bilateral mastectomy and surgery. That surgery was in August
Okay.
with reconstruction, just, expanders. And then radiation, we waited until I'd recovered from surgery some. And so that was October through December.
Wow. Okay. So now you're like over a year in the whole process of everything at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
after your mastectomy, after your reconstruction, what year did that put us at?
I finished, it was actually all in 2021, really. Technically when I wanted the mammogram in 2020, it took technically from the December of 2020, really, because that's when I got the diagnostic mammogram. So December of 2020 to December of 2021 was the whole process.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's all super duper pooper recent, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
and I know that it's like so much to pack in here, Iris, and we haven't even really got to the point of your positive attitude that is shining uh, throughout this entire experience, where you're just so grateful and your perception is changed uh, from your birth. If you want to just kind of tell everybody a little bit about that, because I think it's important. Some people, like we were talking the other day, it's everybody kind of handles going through breast cancer. Their emotional state is everybody's is different. You might gain a lot of hope, a lot more faith. You might get angry. You have all these different emotions swirling around, and it's just a matter of of whoever you are or whatever's happening at that moment in time on how you're going to deal with it emotionally. But for you, your perception of this type of a disease was different from the get-go because of a situation you were born with, right?
Yes, I was born with my stomach connected to my trachea instead of esophagus, and my esophagus dead ended in no man's land, connected to nothing. So I was given 12
Okay,
hours to live.
you cut out a little on that, so I'm going to kind of repeat back what I did get. Your esophagus was connected to your stomach, is that right?
No, it was connected to nothing.
Okay. Wow. And they gave you 12 hours to live when you were born. Of course, these aren't moments in time that you likely remember, right?
No, of course not. No, I was expected to die because you can't live with your esophagus connected to your trachea instead of, stomach connected to trachea. So I was born drowning in stomach acid, pretty much. And that wasn't sustainable for life, obviously. And they expected me to not make it. But I was born in the third world. My parents were Peace Corps volunteers. And thanks to Peace Corps and American government in the third world, they airlifted me to a nearby country that had an American military hospital. They stitched me up and I survived. And after all that,
I bet you stitched you up is simplifying it a little bit.
a whole lot. Yeah.
Everything
Really
was
simplified.
like your wiring was all screwed to hell, and they just stitched you up, and you're
Yeah.
back in business.
Yeah, it took 6 open chest surgeries to do all of that.
Wow, I'll bet so. Yeah.
Yeah, and then 4 more by the time I was 6 years old to
Right.
to correct all the other complications. Yeah.
Right. So,
Um,
having gone through this, Iris, this life battle, like from the beginning, and then I'm sure
mhm,
turned into more and more surgeries or complications to your life and special
mhm.
situations medically.
Oh, yes. So
Tell
many
us,
things.
yeah. So,
I've just spent the whole time knowing that my expectation was 12 hours alive, and that's it. And so everything that's ever happened to me, I've thought, "This is extraordinary. I'm alive experiencing this," when I would otherwise have not, wouldn't be here at all. So all of the things, all of those surgeries, all of the bullying in school, even as a little kid when I couldn't walk and stuff. Um, Even back then, all those things, I just thought, isn't this amazing? I'm alive getting to experience awful things, but also wonderful things. And so my parents encouraged me to all the years to focus on what I could do. And there's a lot I couldn't do, but they said, don't think about those things because think about what you can do. And so they encouraged me to do that and to be grateful for everything and to just be happy to be here. And so I just embraced that and I thank my parents for that always. And so yeah, when breast cancer came knocking at my door, I said, well, what are you here to teach me? What can I learn? What are you here to fix in my life? Because everything I've experienced, all the health problems, I've learned something and I've grown from every single one of them. If you're willing to let your life teach you things, then it can be beautiful no matter what. And so I wasn't surprised with the breast cancer. I wasn't shocked. And it wasn't changing my life because I always constantly went to the doctor. This was nothing new. New doctors, but it didn't change anything really for me. I was already on disability for all these other things, nothing new. So I started did meditations to the cancer every night. And from the day I knew what it was, I said, okay, you're my overachiever cells. And I'm sure that there's a reason you're here. And it's because something's terribly out of balance in my life. So thank you for sharing that something's wrong. And I'm going to find out everything that's wrong and I'm going to fix all of it. And I'm going to keep thanking you every day. And I'm still doing it every day. I talk to those overachiever cancer cells and say, thank you for healing the rest of my life. Because that's been this opportunity. This whole last year, I've gotten to reevaluate every aspect of my life and say, what can I make better? And it's been extraordinarily wonderful, really. I mean, just
Wow. I have to read you some of the comments, Iris, that are coming through right now. We've got Malin says, attitude matters. Max says, what a miracle. And life is extraordinary in spite of adversity. A lot of beautiful comments and people in support of your perspective of this, Iris. And I think it's so important to share this because like I said when we talked the other day, is oftentimes I'll ask people, what was the best thing to come from breast cancer or going through breast cancer, and oftentimes there is something you maybe you have to think about it, or maybe it's super obvious,
mhm,
but there's always something, and like you said, there's something to learn from it.
mhm,
Maybe there's someone to meet. Maybe there's faith
mhm,
to grow. Um,
mhm,
Whatever it is, there's something positive floating around in that madness, no
mhm.
matter what kind of situation you're in. And it sounds like, from your perspective, you've been through the worst of it. I mean, stage 4 breast cancer is not something that you want to have, and most people would
No.
be devastated by that. And then the fact that the way that you look at that, and the way that you meditate, and you look for those moments to be grateful, that definitely is going to change your perspective on the whole thing. So I appreciate you being able to share
Hmm.
that with us. Yeah, we got people quoting what you said. She thanks the overachiever cells to help her reevaluate her life and with have gratitude. So super cool. And
Thank you.
man, I wish I knew whenever we chatted the other day before we got together for this actual interview that we would have a lot to pack in a small window.
Yeah.
And I know we had to kind of keep it brief, but I think we got the true point of Iris across here, and your story. Such a miraculous story. And so, are they saying you're in remission now, or what is their definition of Iris and her breast cancer at the moment?
They told me on September 28th, 2021, that my cancer was in full remission. So it's been in full remission since then.
So you've been in full remission since September 2021, correct?
Mhm.
That's
Right
amazing.
at 6 months after they told me I was stage 4,
That's
pretty much.
amazing.
About,
So what are
yeah.
your follow-ups now? Are you still seeing an oncologist every few months, or often?
I've been checking in. Right now I'm seeing an oncology dietitian every week, and she's at Doherty Nutrition in Plano, I think Plano. Her name is Isabella Ferrari, like the car, and everyone should talk to her and go see her, because seriously, she will change your life in ways you have no idea. I mean, I was eating healthy already. She's single-handedly healed my gut in a week, and I've had digestive problems my entire life. The woman
That's
is magic.
that is
So
magic,
I
man.
recommend her to every single person who's ever had cancer should go see her. Seriously. I mean,
That's
she's
amazing.
she only works with cancer patients, or that's her, she's got a specialty, and she knows all the things of how to heal your life after chemo, after radiation. I mean, it is serious level of magic.
That's awesome. And good
So,
plug for her out in Plano, Texas. If you join late, watch the replay and you can catch her name again. Guys, give a bunch of hearts for Iris right now in the house. Be sure and pop a bunch of hearts in the comments. Just hearts, lots of hearts. Come on, give us a bunch of
thank
hearts. Let
you.
them fly and let her know that we love her. Iris, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And I will see you out on the Survivors Rock, a Breast Cancer Can Stick It
Yes.
community Facebook page. We'll hang out over there and promote
Yes.
positivity and share experiences and
Absolutely.
lift each other up together, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you, April.
Thanks for joining, girl. Have a great evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. That was Iris. Give it up for her. She's a rock star, man. Rock star in the house.